Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Yinka. So in today's class we are going to be making this cute off-shoulder dress with cape. I don't know if it's a dress or short dress, but I'm going to be making mine into a short dress. So for this style today, I'm going to be using 2 yards of Ankara fabric, and I'm going to be using satin to do the cape, just to contrast the Ankara so that we can understand the class better. Then of course you'll be needing your lining. You need your lining, and also you'll be needing interfacing, and I'm also going to be using brackets. You need your zipper and your mashing thread. Okay, so if you're new to this channel, please kindly take a moment to subscribe, and to my old subscriber, you're all welcome back. So take the front seat and let's get started. Oh, before we go, please kindly click the like button if you have not done so. Yes, before we start, click the like button, and don't forget to hit the notification bell if you have not done so, because that will enable you to get notification each time I upload a new video. So click the notification bell and let's get started. So for this style today, you're going to be needing your shoulder to nipple point length, shoulder to under bust, shoulder to waist length, shoulder to hip line, and the length of your gown. Then you'll be needing your bust circumference measurements, your waist circumference measurements, and your hip circumference measurement. Then again, you are going to be needing your round shoulder measurement. This measurement is very important because that's what we are going to be using to cut out the cape. So you measure your round shoulder this way. Just wrap the tape around your shoulder this way, and then you take the measurement. Ensure it's snug enough so that your cape will not be falling off. Okay, so just wrap your tape around your shoulder this way, and then you take the measurement. All right, so let's get into it. I'm going to be drafting this on the lining first, then after that I'm going to be using it to cut out the main fabric. So I'll be drafting the front first. So the first thing you need to do is to fold your lining into 2. Then after that you're going to measure your guideline. I'm going to be using 2 inches as my guideline. So from the beginning of the fabric, you measure 2 inches downward, and then you're going to rule the line. All your length measurements will start from this line. Like I said earlier, the style is an off-shoulder dress. So the first thing you need to do is to determine how off you want it. So I'm going to be offing mine by 5.5 inches. So I'm going to place 5.5 inches on this line. I'll place 5.5 inches on this line. Like this point here, you place the 5.5 on it. Then from there you measure down your length measurement. Measure the length of my armhole. I'm using 8.5 for my armhole. Then my nipple point is 10.5. My underbust is 14.5. My waist length is 17. Then ½ inch seam allowance. Then I will extend all these lines. So this is our guideline. This is my armhole length, which is going to be my chest line. This is my nipple points line. This is my underbust line. This is my waistline, and ½ inch seam allowance. So the next thing now is to input our darts before we start. So you come to your nipple points line. You input your nipple to nipple distance divided by 2. My nipple to nipple distance is 8 inches. Divided by 2, that will be 4. Then I'm going to add ½ inch seam allowance to it. That will be 4.5. I'll input 4.5 on this line. So on your nipple point line, you put your nipple to nipple distance. Then I'm going to add 1 inch to that, and I'll put it at the guideline. So here I have 4.5. If I add 1 inch to it, that will be 5.5. I'll put 5.5 here, like this. Then from this point I'll connect it to the nipple point, then I'll really straight down to the waistline. This way. So you come to the waistline. At this side of the line you take ½ inch that, and at this side you take 2 inches that. So at this side take ½ inch that. You roll it straight to the underbust. Then from the underbust you connect it to the nipple point. This way. Then you come to this other side of the line. You input 2 inches that. You roll it straight to the underbust. Then from the underbust you connect it to the nipple point. So straight to the underbust. Then from the underbust, you use the cuff part of your ruler to connect it to the nipple point. like this. So the next thing now, you come to the guideline. You are going to measure 2 inches towards this side of the line. So just measure 2 inches, and then from that point you connect it to the nipple point. 2 inches, then you connect it to the nipple point. Can you see? Like this. So the next thing you are going to do now is for you to input all your circumference measurements. So you come to your armhole line. This is my armhole line here. This line is my armhole line. On this my armhole line, I'm going to input my bust circumference measurements divided by 4. My bust circumference is 40 divided by 4. That will be 10. I'll put 10. Then I will measure the dots that pass through this line. I'll replace it. I have ½ inch here, so I'll put the ½ inch. Then I'll put my seam allowance. Then I'll come to the waistline. I'm going to input my waist circumference measurement divided by 4. My waist circumference is 32 divided by 4. That will be 8 inches. I'll measure 8 inches. Then I'll measure the dart. Here I have 2.5. I'll replace it. Then I'll put my seam allowance. Then I'll connect it back to the armhole line. Alright, so the next thing you have to do is to come up at this side seam by 1 inch, and then you are going to connect it back to your dart leg. Measure 1 inch upward this way and blend it to your dart leg. Can you see? So you come back to this guideline. So at this upper part, you need your shoulder measurements divided by 2 minus 2 inches because it's an off shoulder dress. So my shoulder is 16 divided by 2. That will be 8 inches. Then if I minus 2 inches from it, that's going to be 6 inches. So you need 6 inches at this upper part. All right, so and here we already use 5.5. This is 5.5. So the half on top is our seam allowance, so basically it's remaining 5 inch. So we still need extra 1 inch. So from here now, so at this other side, just measure 1 inch, but then you still need ½ inch to join this panel to this panel. So I will be putting 1.5. Half will be my seam allowance. So that's the reason for that 1.5. So you put the 1.5 here this way. Hope it's clear. Then from here you slant it to this point. Just slant it to the armhole line from here now. So the next thing now is for you to cut it out. But before you cut it out, most time this panel and this panel, by the time you sew it, they don't usually jive. So first you measure this place round up to this point. Whatever it is, you're going to be increasing this line with it. So here I have 13.5. I'll measure what I have here. So here I have 12.25. 12.25. So we need to increase this place to the 13.5 so that they can jive later on. So 12.25 minus 13. So that's going to remain 1.25. So I will increase here by 1.25. Can you see? So now we can cut it out. So when we are done joining these panels together, that's when we are going to be shaping the neckline. I'm going to be putting a round neckline because that's what will suit the cape. So that will be later when I'm done joining the panels together. So I'm going to be using this to cut out the main fabric. Fabric also into 2. And I'll place the lining on top of it to cut it out. Then I'll cut it out. So ensure you notch your under bust. I'm going to be using 1.5 inch for my zip allowance, so I'll measure 1.5 inch and I'll rule it straight. So you place 5.5 at the beginning of the fabric this way, then you measure the length of your armhole. I use 8.5 for my armhole. Then you measure your waist length. My waist length is 17 in front. Then at the back I'm going to use 16 because we already slant the side seam of the front. So I'll put 16 here with my 1/2 inch seam allowance. Then I will extend these lines. So this is my armhole length, my waist length, and 1/2 inch seam allowance. So the next thing is for us to slant the zip allowance part. So on the waistline, just go in by 1/2 inch. So on your waistline, just go in by 1/2 inch. Go in by 1/2 inch, and then you blend it back this way. Then from this line again, go in by 1/2 inch again and blend it back to this line. All right, so the next thing now to be inputting your shoulder measurement divided by 2 minus 2. My shoulder is 16 divided by 2, that will be 8 inches. Then if I subtract 2 inches from it, that will be 6. So I'll put 6 here. Then I'll come to this armhole line, which is your chest line. You input your bust circumference measurement divided by 4. My bust is 40 divided by 4, that will be 10 with my seam allowance. Then I'll come to the waistline. I will input my waist circumference measurement divided by 4. My waist is 32 divided by 4, that will be 8 inches. Then I'm going to be putting 1 inch dart. Then my seam allowance. Then I'll connect the points together. Can you see? Then from this point, just slant it to the chest line. So I will just input the back neckline because the back is straight now. So from here, I will just come down by 1.5 inch. Then I will slant it. That's going to be the neckline. It's going to be a round neckline, like I said. So from the starting point, I'll measure 1.5 inch. Then I'll connect it together. So the back is ready. I'm going to be cutting it out. I'll place this on the main fabric to cut it out. So I'll place my lining on top of it this way and use it to cut it out. Don't forget to notch your zip allowance. You will also notch your dart position. If you open it, you have this, same as the lining. So I'm going to be fusing it with my interfacing. All right, so we're going to be cutting the down part of our gown. So first you fold your fabric into 2 this way. Then you fold it over again like this into 4. Then you leave your zip allowance here. I'm going to be using 1.5 for my zip allowance, so because that's what I use at the upper part. Here is my zip allowance and it's 1.5. This place is unfold and this is going to be my center front. Beginning of your fabric, measure 1/2 inch downward. That's going to be your seam allowance for joining this skirt part to the upper part. So I'll measure 1/2 inch and I'll rule it. Then from here now, you input the remaining length of your vertical measurement. So at this line, you are going to place your waist length. My waist length is 17. I'll place the 17 here. Then I'll measure my hip line. My gown is 44. So this is 44. There's no seam allowance here. My seam allowance is going to be added to the main fabric. All right. So this is my waistline, this is my hip line, and then this is the length of my gown. So the next thing you are going to do on the waistline, starting from this, all your measurement is going to start from this folded edge. Don't forget. On the waistline, you input your waist circumference measurement divided by 4. My waist circumference measurement is 32 divided by 4, that will be 8 inches. So starting from this folded edge, you input 8 inches. I'm going to be putting 1 inch dart and then my seam allowance. Then I'll come to the hip line. I will input my hip circumference measurement divided by 4, starting from this folded edge. My hip circumference measurement is 42 divided by 4, that will be 10.5. I'll put 10.5 here. Then I'm going to put my seam allowance. Then whatever I have here on the hip line, here I have 2 and so whatever I have here at the hip line, I'm going to subtract 2 inches from it and put it at the hemline because it's going to be a pencil gown. So here I have 12.5. If I subtract 2 inches from it, that will be 10.5. So I'll put 10.5 at the hemline, starting from this folded edge. It's going to be a pencil gown. So from here now, I'll use the cuff part of my ruler to connect it to the hip line. Then from the hip line, you connect it with the straight part of the ruler to the hemline. We still need to contour the hip on the zip allowance side. So on the waistline, you go in by ½ inch this way. Then you come to the hemline, you go in by 1 inch. Then you connect from here to the hip line, and then from the waistline, you also connect it to the hip line. So we can cut this out, but I'm just going to be placing this on my main fabric so that I can use it to cut it out at once. Edge of the Ankara match up with the folded edge of the lining. Ensure everything matches properly before you cut it out. So I'll be adding my seam allowance to the bottom part. I use 2 inches for my seam allowance. Put your notches in the appropriate places. So we are done cutting it. So if you open it, this is the front lining. You can see that the lining is 2 inches shorter. So this is the back. And this is the lining for the back. I'll start by joining my front panels together. First join the panels together. So place them on top of each other this way, right side to right side. You join with ½ inch allowance. You sew on one side first. When you are done with one side, you also stitch the second side, right side to right side. Then when you are done, you notch your dart lines. You notch, cut very close to your seam, but don't cut your seam. You will also repeat this same step on the lining. Work on the back. First thing I'll do is to sew in my darts. Your dart stop 1 inch below your armhole. This is my armhole here, so your dart will stop 1 inch below the armhole line. So fold your fabric into 2. We already notched our dart position, so you sew your dart accordingly. I'm done sewing in my darts. So I'll be working on the skirt part now. So first thing I'll do is to sew in my dart. The length of the front dart is 4 inches, and we already notch our dart position. Your dart position unfold is your nipple to nipple. Your nipple to nipple distance divided by 2. That's what you measure from the folded edge inward. You notch it, then you fold your fabric into 2 and sew your dart. The length of the dart is 4 inches for the front skirt, and the back of the skirt is 6 inches for the length of the dart. So I'll go ahead and sew in my dart. Next thing you're going to be doing is for you to join the skirt together with the upper part. So this is the skirt part of my gown, and this is the upper part. So you match them together, right side to right side, and join together on the waistline with ½ inch seam allowance. You repeat the same thing to the lining, right side to right side with ½ inch allowance. You do the same thing to the back. You join lining to lining and fabric to fabric on the waistline with ½ inch allowance. And join together on the waistline with ½ inch allowance. ½ inch allowance. Join the lining together as well on the waistline with ½ inch allowance. So the next thing I'll do now is to attach my bra cup. So you match the center of the bra cup with the center of the nipple point here. Mash it together. Okay. The hollow part of the bra cup will be facing the wrong side of the lining. Can you see? Then you attach the bra cup. Ensure the nipple point align with the center of the bra cup. You have to pin, work with your pin. And you make sure they are on the same level as well. To the wrong side of the lining. So the next thing we have to do now at this stage is to fix our cape. So we're going to be stopping here for today because the video is already getting too long. So in the next part, I'm going to be showing you how to cut out the cape, how to attach it neatly, how to close it here, basically finishing the old dress as you owe. Okay, so please don't miss that next part. It's going to be dropping next week, so please watch out for it. So that'll be the end of the tutorial for today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the concluding part. 하루하루 쌓여가고 있는 식어버린 내 맘 이제 내겐 이 자리는 없어 돌이킬 수도 없어 지쳐가나 봐 내가 Bye 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 leave me by There's no reason why Bye bye reason why 놓아줄게 널 이제는 leave me by But you still leave
있었던 눈물이 이제 나가워 견딜 수가 없네